After playing through God of War Ascension, I fully see and understand the game's reception when it first came out, although it's not all weird. The bulk of the game is weird, but not without introducing some interesting lore points to the world of God of War. What's going on, guys? It's your boy TKD1 here, back here up with InSource, and we are going to break down and explain who and what are the Furies in God of War Ascension. The good old Furies debuted in God of War Ascension as the main antagonists for the game. They are their own independent race and aren't a titan, god, mortal, or shade. In the beginning of time, all three of the Furies were formed from the madness and rage of a war that was waged between the Primordials, who were ageless creators of the world and universe. The Furies were tasked to punish the wicked and treacherous. All three sisters sport different appearances and different techniques of movement, as well as different combat abilities that we'll go over in depth towards the end of the video, but the three Fury sisters goes as follows: Alecto, who can mutate into a colossal sea monster; Tisiphone, who can summon a phoenix named Damon to attack on her behalf; as well as Majira, who can release a swarm of parasites that comes from a diseased looking rash on her chest that bury into the skin of her enemies, possessing them into fighting for her. And what's cool is that all of them are divided up into three different categories. So the physical Fury is Majira, the mental Fury is Tisiphone, and the soul Fury is Alecto. The beginning of the Furies' way of torture, which we did see in the beginning of God of War Ascension, where they have Kratos in chains and all that, it all began with one Hecatonkres named Aegeon. Aegeon was a 100-armed giant who had a blood oath with Zeus in a similar fashion as Kratos and Ares had, that we talked about in our other lore video as well. Make sure to go check that out. I'll put a card here up on top of the screen. However, just as Kratos would eventually do, Aegeon betrayed that pledge, which enabled the Furies to go after him for the first time. They did just that and tortured him to the point of insanity, but not any further, as they thought that death was too easy of a consequence for someone that broke a blood oath with a god, let alone Zeus. Rather, the three sisters decided to use him as an example for other traitors that might come after him, and petrified Aegon's body that twisted and reorganized his flesh and bones into a prison to house all future traitors. It is insane. Though they are not gods themselves, the Furies possess many superhuman and supernatural powers. Them being immortality, the Furies are older than the earth itself, and like the Olympians and Titans, they are immortal, yet can still be killed by the same circumstances, either by a god or a god's weapon. Superhuman strength they also have, which the Furies can overpower and lift a full-grown man high off the ground with any effort. They strike with considerable force, enough to smash through a stone floor. Superhuman agility and speed. The agility and speed of the Furies vary. Magiri is the most agile of the three, with spider-like speed and movements. Superhuman durability. Their bodies are stronger than the humans. They have a high tolerance for physical pain. Superhuman stamina as well. The Furies have incredible stamina, are able to hunt and torture those they found guilty without resting. Shape-shifting. The Furies can use their magic to take on the form of another person. Alecto can transform into a giant kraken-like sea monster with a head that looks similar to a Dunkleosteus. They also have a healing factor, which Furies can heal quickly from injuries that would kill a mortal, such as their stomachs being sliced open. This power is limited as they cannot regrow a lost limb or heal from fatal wounds. Wall crawling as well. Magiri is shown clinging to a wall like a spider. Flight. The Furies can defy gravity and fly through the air with great speed. Parasite secretion. Magiri is able to secrete parasites from her pores to attack her enemies. They also have mutation. Specifically, with her parasites, Magiri can mutate any creature into hideous monsters to do her bidding. Prime example is mutation of Aegon himself. Black goo creation. Alecto is able to capture her victims in a dark goo, which is nearly unescapable. However, Kratos can escape using the Oath Stone of Orcos. Damon summoning, which is of course Tisiphone's power. She is able to summon a creature made of black magic, who is named Damon. Illusions. The three sisters are capable of creating illusions that can only be broken with the eyes of truth. These illusions are seen throughout the game as a way to convince Kratos to stay loyal to Ares. Reality warping is the last one they have, which is Tisiphone's main power. She can warp reality in a variety of ways, such as turning the Temple of Furies into an enormous whirlpool like we see in the last battle of God of War Ascension. So overall, this game gets a really bad rap, and honestly, rightfully rightfully so. I didn't particularly enjoy this game. I did like it more than God of War 1 from a gameplay point of view overall, but there are some really cool stuff here, like the Furies, that I thought were really cool to detail in the video and just kind of get out to you guys that there's some really cool lore in God of War that isn't, directly on the surface, and there's really cool stuff in Ascension that I think is worth, knowing if you are a God of War fan. And even though it gets a bad rap, Ascension is the first in terms of chronological timeline of the God of War series, and it does take place 6 months after that fateful day where Kratos unintentionally killed his wife and daughter in a blind rage, but of course Ares transports his wife and daughter to that place where he was at in that village, so it was really not really Kratos' fault, but at the same point he still did, and it was Ares' fault that they were there in the first place. So it's really cool to see that this takes place 6 months after that, and it's the first start to Kratos' journey on killing Ares at the end of the original God of War and becoming the God of War in the Greek world. But hey guys, that is about it for the Furies. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. Do you think they're interesting? Do you think they're cool? And also, how do you feel about God of War Ascension if you have played it or you watched the stream series that we did here on the channel? And if you haven't seen that, there's a playlist on the channel as well to check out the whole entire playthrough of God of War Ascension. But most importantly, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and make sure also while you are down there to check out the description. That way you can find our Discord, our Twitter, as well as our Anchor link. That way you can be the first person to know what the new Road 2 series is starting on Sunday. Also, if you could hit that join button down below in the description or on your UI for YouTube, you can see there that there is a $1 tier and a $5 tier, Prince tier and King tier respectively. If you want to show that support, would duly appreciate that. Shout out to the homie Owen as well as the homie Caleb. Shout out to you as well, Caleb. Much love for that King tier subscription. Thank you all for watching. Like if you've enjoyed it, as well as hit subscribe to the PlayStation Store to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.